Last time we talked about the attribute of Allah that is called creating. Al-Khaliq, He creates. So we know that Allah creates, and everything that has a beginning is a creation. This means that the creator cannot be created. And the mind really accepts that. It accepts an existence without a beginning. However, the mind does not accept, and it's not appropriate to say how. It's basically trying to understand the deity that is not created with a mind that is created, an existence that is limitless with a creation that is limited. So when we try to think of how, we are using the creations, time, space, dimensions, atoms, electrons, wavelengths, right, and so on, to understand an existence that does not exist, that is not bounded by these creations. So the creator is eternal. He does not have a beginning. He doesn't have an end. Also, this means that all of his attributes are eternal and everlasting. Now, we know that he has knowledge, will, power. The attribute of creating, hearing, sight, and speech are not created. They don't start, they don't end, and they do not change. And I really want to point out that the speech of Allah does not start or end. Some people think that Allah's original speech is Arabic, and this is blasphemy. Arabic is a language that is created. The letters and the words, they start and stop, just like English, which contradicts the everlasting and eternal attributes. Allah, on the Day of Judgment, He will talk to all of the creations at once. And each person will understand what Allah wills for that person to understand. That's how Allah will judge people. Imagine if we had to go in line and have it be done one by one. That would take forever. This is an attribute of the creation. The creator is not like that. So talking to people one by one is a weakness and it's a limitation. We do that because we only have the capacity to really listen and focus on one person at a time. That is not Allah. Also, I want to mention a hadith that states that when a person recites the Fatiha, after each ayah, Allah gives a reply. If this person took this hadith literally, if this person used to wait for Allah to reply, so he would say Bismillah and then he would stop talking and be like, okay, I'm giving time for Allah to reply, with the meaning that they believe Allah starts and stops and his speech needs time, like I need to stop talking for someone to reply for me. Again, this is blasphemy. What are we doing? We are contradicting the attributes of Allah. I've seen this a lot where people say, oh, Allah says kun fayakun. If this ayah is taken literally, and people think that Allah says kun, like kaf and noon, that's blasphemy. Kaf and noon, kun, starts and ends. So this means Allah would have to say kun 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 kun. Like that doesn't make sense. Because Allah again is always creating. He always has a will. He will always have power. Those are the attributes of Allah. So this is blasphemy. Whoever had these beliefs, they would have to let go of them, reject it, never allow it to come back into their belief again. Say the Shahada again to enter the Islam. So the shaitan might whisper old patterns, but the course of action here is to just reject it. So it will come to you, but you would know that it's not from your own will. Actually, the person who does that, they get hasanat because what they're doing, they're internally rejecting falsehood. What happens when we attach ourselves to the creation? We mentioned earlier that a creation means something with a beginning and end. And I want to add to that, a creation is anything that changes. Every single thing in this world changes. The trees start off as a seed and then they grow. And as time passes, they change from green to yellow, and then they start to lose their leaves and sprout new leaves again. Humans too. Not only do we change as we grow, but our emotions change, our perspective in life, what we like and what we don't like, even who we are loyal to and who's loyal to us. All of it changes. Wealth and health, they also go up and down. You might have a season of prosperity, and then a couple of years later, another season of weakness, of poverty, and of sickness. This is change. And change really causes a lot of pain. So attaching to something that is not stable, not consistent, it puts us on edge. And why does that happen? It's because change is not predictable. There is so much uncertainty in change. We don't ever know what's going to happen to us. Uncertainty, period, is a lot of reasons why anxiety, overthinking, and stress manifest. When we love something that is constantly changing, or we chase something that is constantly unstable, how do you think that makes us feel and act? We're always on edge. We try to do everything to make sure that we can keep that object in our lives. We chase it. to make sure it doesn't leave us because we depend so much on it. It's our identity is based on it because who are we if we don't have this thing? So let's take money for example. Money towards anxiety. Part of the reason why it exists is because we attribute money as safety and as security. But if we lose money, stop having money, or chase money to the point of burnout, well, now we have this internal pain. And sometimes it even manifests as physical pain. Love through money and approval through money. And when we don't get it, we panic. When we don't get money, we start going into fight mode. And this is where we try to do everything that we can to get it. And then maybe flight mode, where we procrastinate and don't even open up the bank account, avoid work. Or another response is freeze, where we feel completely overwhelmed and powerless. So we just sit there and do nothing. And sometimes we just go into fawn mode, where we start pleasing people and sacrificing ourselves for the sake of money. This is what happens when we attribute ourselves and start loving and chasing something that changes. So the question becomes, why is it that we have these responses? Allah created the heart, the body, the soul, the nervous system, and the brain to know Him and recognize Him. They were created to worship Allah and Allah only. Allah created us to know Him, to attach our heart to seek Him, to talk to Him, and to live life communicating with Him, with our problems and our solutions and our questions and our decisions. And when we attach ourselves to something other than Allah, this response manifests. These responses are a sign from Allah that we are attaching ourselves to something created, something weak, something that changes, that we went far from the path that we were created for. And I want to really mention and emphasize that even if someone is fasting or prayer, they can have these responses. Knowing Allah and doing the acts of obedience are two different sciences. One is spiritual, and the other one is fiqh, the laws of Where do we go from here? The answer is simple, not easy, which is we detach from this world, from the creation. And we do not try to seek perfection in this world. Only Allah is perfect, and He made His Jannah perfect for our desires, not earth. Detaching basically means you don't put all of your hopes and dreams in this world. Don't try to make this world a paradise. Don't try to prevent harm. Don't try to live life without pain. Overwork yourself for something or someone that will change. When it comes to calming your nervous system and learning how to live in safety, the answer is not to negate the fear and say it will never happen, because that possibility is real and there is evidence of this. So let's say that the fear is of poverty and not making money. How will one still find safety in that situation? So even if someone does not have a home, there's still a lot of benefits, and we would have to start focusing on the benefits. For example, you might not have your own home or apartment, but there will still be shelter. Shelter is basically just a place of sleep. A car can be a place of sleep. If there isn't a car, there's homeless shelters. Even all women's shelters. There are centers that help with employment. The library, it has internet where you can apply for jobs and take classes if you're needed. And you don't even have to pay for the internet. You can start getting memberships at gyms, and they have showers at the gyms. There are also a lot of religious centers, whether it be a church or a masjid, that provide food. In this situation, I don't ever want to think that you are alone, because you can always call on family and friends to see if they have a couch that you can sleep on until you bounce back. Asking for help is not a sin. Even in homelessness, there is safety. Even in that situation, there's a lot to be grateful for. Life itself is something to be grateful for. Even that ability to see, to eat, to move, to make effort, to change the situation. These are all blessings. These are all mercies. Again, we change. So this means the situation is temporary. It's not going to be the end of your life. So whatever happens, it will be okay, because what is the worst case situation that can ever happen to humans? It's death. After death, that's where we will all be accountable. We will not be asked about how much money we made, or if we got a six pack, or if we were loved by the people. We were asked about our deeds, our intentions, our belief, and how we reacted in situations that Allah has willed for us. Don't attach yourself to this world and start working for the akhirah. If you believe Allah exists, you have to believe that He is truthful. Allah has promised those who die as a Muslim, do good deeds, constantly ask forgiveness, and strive not to follow the nafs and the evils of the heart. In sinning, Jannah. As a reminder, Jannah does not end, neither does hellfire. And we make a choice on where we want to go. And I want to really emphasize here how much mercy that we still have in this world, because even in times of difficulty, there is still ease. Like, we can go to sleep, we can avoid the thoughts from anxiety, we can eat. But not Jahannam, there's no such thing as sleep. There's no such thing as avoiding I still want you to look at the good that is still in this world, and that in itself will calm your nervous system and help you make better decisions and feel safe. How do we live in this world without isolating in the masjid, dropping life? There are two pillars I want to focus on. I want to take it back to the attribute of Allah, the attribute of eternal and everlasting. The first step is to connect your heart to the one that does not change. Don't chase money, don't make people your objective or status or having a partner or achievements. Not even your nafs or not even your feelings. Attach yourself to knowing Allah, loving Allah, talking to Allah, and reflecting about Allah. Like really get obsessed with thinking about Allah and what He creates and talking to Him and really taking Him as a friend. Read the adhkar and make dhikr. Remember Allah throughout the day. And when you reflect on what you're saying, this will deepen the connection that you have with Allah and deepen your certainty with Allah. For example, let's take the dua of Yunus alayhi salam, where he said, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. When we reflect on this and really think about what Yunus alayhi salam is doing, it's that he is surrendering to Allah and admitting his mistakes. He is saying that there is no deity worthy of worship, not money, not our nafs, not our ego, or people, not your feelings. It's only you, Ya Allah. Then he says, Subhanak, meaning Allah, you are perfect, complete, powerful, a protector, so merciful. It's a statement of awe. And then he says, Inni kuntu min al-zalimin, basically saying, I did this to myself. Please forgive me. I am imperfect. I make mistakes. For us, it could also means that I don't listen to you all the time. I don't obey you all the time. I get angry and I yell. I listen to my nafs when I knew better. Please forgive me. Same thing with La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That nothing on this earth happens without the power and will of Allah. Not what you fear or what you hope for. Allah is what allows whatever you want to come into existence, or whatever you fear to come to existence. This makes a person return to Allah, the one who has power over everything. There's no escaping from Allah. There's only returning back to Allah. Reflect about the one who does not change and who will never leave you alone. And if you have anxiety, know that Allah is with you in that moment, in your moment of fear. Let's say if you're afraid to go outside because you are afraid of people's judgments, start thinking about why should you fear the judgment of people when Allah is the one who created everybody and Allah is everybody's master. And Allah, if He wills something bad to happen to you, it will be through His will. People are the means. And if the people try to harm you, only Allah can protect you. And they will not even be able to harm you if Allah had not willed. The result that you seek or the result that you don't get, all of it is by the power and will of Allah. This would mean, like, make dua for protection, for strength. Do what you can. Ask Allah to give you strength to overcome the internal and external fears. Ask Allah to give you courage. And ask Him for what you want. Make daily dhikr. This protects you from anxiety because a lot of anxiety is thoughts. And so thoughts manifest as feelings. There's a link between how you think and how you feel. That's why when making dhikr, it stops anxious thoughts while at the same time it makes you calm. Anxiety truly resides in the heart. You have to break it. The best way, physical exercise, go on a walk, and after 30 minutes, or when you can, start making dhikr. It will calm your heart. So that was point one. Start attaching yourself to Allah. Seek Allah. Having Him be the friend is the goal. So start attaching yourself to the one who is eternal and everlasting. Two, start making your intentions for sabilillah, for the sake of Allah. Going to work, eating, showering, not replying to someone's comments, not listening to anxiety, even when it comes to relaxing, taking a walk or going to the gym. All of those can be to seek the approval of Allah. When you do something intending to seek the acceptance of Allah because it's what Allah ordered you to do, well, that is what will show up with you in the grave. If you do good deeds without the intention for them to be for Allah, for example, you are nice to your mother because it's simply out of habit, or you do it because you want to please her, or you do it because you have been oppressed and you fear her. If you do it for those specific reasons, you don't get hasanat at all. If you do an obligation, like praying to please people, or so that the people think that you are pious, that's minor shirk. You don't get hasanat for that either. Same thing with attending these classes. So make sure that you have the intention to remember Allah and know that Allah is approved of this. This is what we mean by doing something for the sake of Allah, because Allah ordered it. And we love Allah and we want to worship Him. So when you attribute your happiness with your intentions and not the results, you win. So you do an action without intending it to be for the sake of Allah, and you don't get the results that you want. For example, it's like you missed an opportunity for you to win in that particular situation. So even if you missed out on the dunya and don't get exactly what you want, when you do the action for the sake of Allah, you would 100% get the akhirah. This is a promise of Allah, and Allah does not lie. This is a reflection on why we worship Allah. People lie, Allah does not lie. Reflect on your life and start thinking how you can start making your daily life for the sake of Allah. Make a list and write it out. Write out the intentions of why it would be accepted fi sabilillah in your akhirah. And working out and eating or sleeping, helping out your parents or your siblings. Allah told us what He approves of and what He does not approve of. You can do something simply because it will get the approval of Allah. For example, when it comes to taking care of your body, well, this is an amana. Allah gifted it to you, and it has a right on you for you to treat it with balance. When it comes to a job, you have to provide for yourself. And if you are a male, you have to provide for those who you are obligated to support. If you don't support them with the obligatory support, this is a major sin. The Prophet ﷺ said that if the man does everything correctly except that one thing, that is enough for him to enter Jahannam. Same thing for the woman, supporting yourself and those around you, seeking the acceptance of Allah, and using money as a means to buy Jannah, so what basically is a tool. Helping the family around the house as an act of worship, as an act of charity. This is worship. Not because this is the cultural norm, or because your parents or your partner force you to. That's not why you would do it. We do it because Allah told us that charity for the women to help around the house, again with the correct intention. And actually, if you study the obligatory knowledge in the school of Imam Shafi'i, the woman does not have to cook or clean. The guy has to give her 2 cooked meals, not even the ingredients, but 2 cooked meals. So if you need to take a step back from doing the chores because it's not the right intention, I would actually suggest you do that until you build in with yourself the intention to do it for the sake of Allah. Take a step back and really center Allah and not center people or money or status. And obviously, I would tell you to do this with wisdom because I know violence exists in some of these households. You can also say no for the sake of Allah as a means to break the internal connection to people. But you know yourself best and you know your heart the best, and it's your situation and your soul. So do what is best for you in the akhirah and in this dunya, because I cannot give that to you. But to really sum up this class, when you focus on Allah, who is eternal and everlasting, He'll never leaves you. He's with you everywhere that you go. And He does not change, and His promises is true. Your heart starts to find safety. The less anxiety manifests, burnout manifests. You don't get heartbroken because you know that the one that you are attaching yourself to is not a liar. He does not change. He'll always be with you everywhere that you go. He will provide for you. He is your supporter. He is the one who has willed for you to have the eyes and the ears and the movements. He protects you from harm. And if harm were to hit you, it's a test as a means to get closer to Him. Because what happens when we have hardships? We return to Allah because we feel that we have absolutely no control and we are backed into the corner. Hardships are never a punishment. Allah does not punish in this world. Allah tests. Punishment is for Nar Jahannam. Allah is testing you. What are you going to do in this situation? Sometimes you acquire the consequences of your life. And Allah told you specifically, for example, not to do alcohol, not to do drugs, not to commit zina. Consequences come because of that. You can directly take that. Oh, it's my fault. Like I did that. I should have listened. Other things that are not completely that your fault. You can be in a car accident. It's not your fault. That is a test. That is a means for you to get closer to Allah. It's not a punishment. Allah is so generous and He is so merciful that even in the times of hardships, even in the times where you are sinning, He is still providing for you. Times where you are neglecting of Him and not remembering Him, He is still providing for you. The eyes that we have, the ears and the stomach and the health, they are gifts. We didn't do anything to earn them. We take what we have for granted. So always think about how generous Allah is. He's always so merciful. And the worst thing that can ever happen to you is death. So truly detach yourself from this world. Always be grateful. There's always good in this world. And then, inshallah, if we die as Muslims, we will get into Jannah because of how we reacted to these tests. I also want to emphasize something that you really have to be careful of how you think. Not everything that you think is valid. Not everything that you think is the way that you should be thinking. I have a resource that helps people truly understand the thoughts that manifest as anxiety and what to do about it, how to start talking to yourself. It includes worksheets of writing out the thoughts and challenging them, identifying the thought pattern, and then start rewiring your brain for hope, for what you want, for calmness, for confidence. So make sure you check that out because you really have to know your enemy. When I took studying my thoughts seriously, I was able to decrease my anxiety drastically in 30 days. I want to give you the tools that I use that really helped me overcome a lot of anxiety and depression and PTSD. So I just want to give you that resource so it could be easier for you to get out of that state as fast and as easy as possible. Everything will be in the description below.